Alright my friends, and now we're back with the showdown between Avalorn, who shall be led by Alariel the Pigeon Queen, and today guys we're going to be facing off against the Vampire Coast, who shall be led by Celastra atop her mighty crab. So yes, we're going to have a glorious duel between the birds and crabs, although I don't know if it's going to be quite as good as what we had in the Eternal Challenger League, which was a massive showdown between a Grey Seer on his bell facing off against a Vampire Fleet Admiral on a Promethean. That was like the most haggard, glorious duel I think we've ever had in the history of Total War Warhammer. But anyways, as far as the build goes, we're basically going to be using a ton of archers because archers are extremely good against gun lines. Firstly, archers typically have better range, and especially High Elf archers. 180 range on these bad boys. Lothar and Seaguard have 165, and Sisters I think have 180, give or take, maybe 190. Let's go ahead and double check here. Yeah, they have 180 on these Sisters of Avalorn. So when you're facing off against Vampire Coast gun lines, the gunnery mobs have 145 range, so they can't really contest with your archers, and all of these zombie deckhand mobs are very lightly armored, so your archers can just tear them to shreds. Now my opponent here, the Great Kark, is doing something to mix it up a little bit, so he's not going with a gun line or cannons or anything like that, no mortars. He's going to be going with a Crab Blitz, which can most certainly catch my build off guard. You can see here he has a ton of armor, so 120 armor on these guys, and they regenerate. 150 on these guys, 150 on these big ass crabs, and then also another 120 here on these Prometheans. So my archers and Lothar and Seaguard don't really have the best AP, but with volume of fire, they can still bring them down, but it's still very tough, and it puts a lot of pressure on your bow line. But thankfully, we did bring some Sisters of Avalorn. We have one group here in the back, which is going to be our saving grace for sure. I mean, these guys are going to have to, put this game on their back if I want any chance of winning. They, of course, do fire damage, great AP damage. I mean, just a solid unit. I mean, I don't like going too all in on them because I feel like if you bring like 3 or 4 Sisters and they go with a gun line with like mortars and scurvy dogs, you can sometimes get outvalued, but nonetheless, I think maybe bringing 2 would have been good here. But nonetheless, we do have 1, and hopefully it'll be enough. We'll find out. Up in the sky, we do have 2 birds. So we have Alariel and her bird, which the mobility is really nice. Vampire Coast does have some tools for kind of punishing the flying units, like Carronades and stuff like that, and Luther Harkin, for example. But she's faster. She has 110 speed. Luther Harkin on his Terrorgeist, I think, is like 90 or 95 or something like that. So she's pretty swift. We also have the Flamespire Phoenix, which is just an absolute ace in a multitude of matchups. Armor piercing damage, extremely mobile. Fire damage is also very pertinent against Vampire Coast. Not really against Celastra, she doesn't take extra from fire, but the other lords do, like Luther Harkin and Noctilus and all that good stuff. So Flamespire Phoenix is also going to be quite good against the crabs. I'm going to have to get some good engagements and hopefully not throw it away here, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Now we are going Avalorn, and Avalorn has a couple unique units, Dryads being one of them. They're not unique, but they can pick units from other factions, essentially. So the Dryads are pretty good in the front line. They don't have the shields against gun lines, but if they're facing off against deckhand mobs, they're going to be able to clear up the front line extremely efficiently. So I really like the Dryads as kind of a niche pick in this matchup, and I think it's one of the reasons why Avalorn is very, very good here. So we got 3 Dryads in total. We have 1 group of White Lions in the back in case he came in with like Depth Guard. I wanted to have some dedicated AP, so these guys are going to be getting in to try and crump a little bit, but in total, 3 Lothar and Seaguard, 2 Archers, 1 Sister, a bunch of Spears in the back, and 3 groups of Reavers. So Reavers are extremely good. If they have a gun line, they're going to be pressuring the back line, give you some battlefield control. If they have scurvy dogs, you're going to be able to hunt them down and do a lot of damage. However, my opponent, very, very sneaky stuff. Look at this. He's got some scurvy dogs in the corner, and it is very hard to see. Like, if you're not like hyper-focused, like that is going to be really, really easy to miss. So I actually didn't think they were back there, so he's certainly going to get some sneaky tricks on me here. I'm a little bit nervous about that, but yeah, it's some scurvy dog play back there. Now for his army, it's going to be deckhand mobs, crabs, like I said, and just halberds in the back with a vampire caster. So it's very much a crab blitz build. He's probably going to be summoning the Damned Knights Errant with Celastra and then using the Vampire Caster for Invocation to keep those crabs going, which is going to be tough. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road, guys, and have some fun. So firstly, a nice charge over here. The Reavers are able to get a couple Zombos, and it's free real estate, can't complain. But as he does kind of close in here, I have to kind of figure out what I want to do in terms of my target priority. So basically what I decided was the big crabs are going to be really tough to take down, especially with Invocation. And not to say Lamprey's Revenge aren't hard to take down, but basically I was like, all right, I'm going to get all my firepower, just pour it into single targets at a time and make sure to finish off, a couple units. Now, the Sisters are going to be shooting, I think, against Celastra, but pretty much everything else, like the Lothar and Seaguard and the Archers, are going to be unloading into Lamprey's Revenge. So I decided to go into my birds as well, but something I kind of underestimated was their mass. So you have to be very careful. It's really easy to get trapped up by these crabs. Like, look at that. I thought I was away there, but it was like the crab was like grabbing the back of the bird's wings and like holding it there. So I get my other Flamespire Phoenix, I turn around to kind of hold them in place. And I was really, man, I took a lot of damage to my lord there, and my other bird probably is not going to have a good time, but really, I'm holding the Lamprey's Revenge in place, and if I can finish them off, that's going to be a huge value train. Now in the front line, the Dryads are going to be colliding with some crabs as well, and my Archers on this side are going to be shooting into this group of crabs, trying to wear those guys down. And over here, in the meantime, my Reavers are going to be cycle charging zombies and really trying to pressure those guys. So the bow line is in full effect. We're shooting and doing some pretty good damage. My bird is a decent distraction Carnifex here, but the Flamespire Phoenix is really kind of getting whooped on. I was really surprised at how much damage Celastra plus this Rotting Leviathan were able to do. So I popped the Star of Avalorn to kind of keep it going, also help out the Dryades a little bit, and I do get back, but still, that was a really nice trade there for Kark. He's able to get a ton of damage, but we almost have the Lamprey's Revenge down, and being able to finish off a unit that regenerates really mitigates a lot of its value, because that's its big strength, right? It's the fact that it regenerates. So the Bowfire's coming in, Sisters of Avalorn really giving that final punch right there, and now the Lamprey's Revenge will be going down. As far as the other side goes, you can see we're getting some decent work on the Prometheans, but Kark is dropping some nice summons here into my back line, and he's most likely going to be using the Damned Knights Errant here in a second to pressure my back line as well. So the dogs are coming in as well. I have some Spearmen ready to kind of intercept those guys, and I do have some Reavers nearby to kind of protect. So these Reavers are going to be coming in and countercharging, so I'm going to take a little bit of damage on the Sisters, but for the most part, we're going to be able to get these dogs with probably only losing like 3 or 4 models. I also pull back the Pigeon Queen. And my Flamespire Phoenix, in the meantime, is going to be jumping over here to help out these guys. And what's really cool about Lothern Seaguard is they're pretty tanky. They have 52 melee defense, so against the 26 melee attack of the dogs, they're going to be really tough to bring down. Not like regular archers, so that's why I like mixing them in. Plus, if your opponent, Vampire Coast, for example, does go with like Morngul's, they have anti-large and they're really good spear units in the late game once you do run out of ammo. So it looks like the Damned Knights Errant are going to be dropped right here, and the Vampire Coast is certainly pressuring into the back line. You can see here the Damned Knight Errant are going to be pushing in. I will be intercepting them here with my Reavers, and that's another really nice application about Alarielle, is she does give magic damage to nearby troops. So when I was close to the Reavers, I actually just flew away for a second, but it actually gives them magic damage when I'm close enough. And you can see the magic damage is going to be very efficient at burning down those ethereal units. Now the crabs are pretty scary for sure. They are able to break off my white lions, or at least terrify them for a moment, but it looks like they're coming back. And we were able to kind of survive the Scurvy Dog onslaught. I don't think there's going to be any more Scurvy Dog pressure. These ones are offline here, and there is some chase over here on the far side of the map, but a lot of my archers are back online. I have lost some regular archers. Spears should be able to kind of clean these guys up with the help of some of these Reavers, but it's a very, very close game. Balance Power is like dead even. So I'm going to be charging in here with my bird, trying to kind of peel off here, and I accidentally charged in with the Sisters of Avalorn. That was a huge mistake. I think I put them in like melee mode for a second to fight the dogs, but I forgot to switch it off. So instead of shooting, they charged in, which was a pretty big mistake for sure, but I'm going to try my best to get away, and I do have the Flamespire Phoenix with its good AP damage, kind of chipping away at Salastra, hopefully getting some okay work done. And for the most part, I'm cleaning up the battlefield. You can see here on the flanks, we will be secure in just a second. These Damned Knights Errant will be disappearing in about 10 or 15 seconds because, again, they are a summon unit and they will be disappearing as such. Over here, Lothern Seaguard will be stabilizing as some Dryads should be able to peel off those zombie powered deckhand mobs. And up on the high ground, the White Lions are doing a pretty good job cleaning up a lot of this chaff. But really the epicenter of the fight is going to be the Salastra and the Scrab back here, which are going to be very tough to take down. His caster is getting relatively low as well, and I probably had a couple opportunities to snipe this guy earlier in the game, but I just haven't had too much success doing it. You can see here Kark's going to be pulling in the caster to hide near his crabs, and if I go in, I'm pretty low on both my birds, so sniping's a little bit dangerous here, and I was really regretting not bringing Arcane Conduit. As far as my spells, I did bring Earthblood and Tempest because I was like, maybe there's going to be Luther, some Fellbats, or things like that that'll want to Tempest down, but man, Arcane Conduit, not Arcane, but Arcane Unforging would have been super good here for nuking down his caster. So if we look at the battlefield overall, the balance of power is pretty even still, 570 for me, 579 for my opponent, so pretty close in terms of just bodies on the field. But again, that's not really a big factor as it pertains to strength. The biggest thing for him is his big crabs here. You can see crabs at 4.2k HP on Salastra, and I have a couple Lothern Seaguard who are going to be piling in, and that's the real good dual purpose of these guys. They're spears, and they're going to struggle against 150 armor, but at least they're going to make contact, and in a long grindy game like this, that really, really matters. So it looks like Kark is going to be dropping a summon here of gunnery mobs, which I think he was actually pressuring off my sisters. But basically at this point, I'm trying to form a secondary Helm's Deep here. So I'm trying to kind of reform my lines, clean up all the pressure and all the chaff here of the deckhand mobs. And from here, I'm going to be able to kind of reform an archer line and really start doing some good damage. And the sisters are still shooting, which is quite nice, but his gunnery mobs are actually peppering me pretty good and maybe taking out a couple models here and there. You can see one drops there. But the firepower is really starting to add up and doing a lot of damage, but the balance power actually, it looks like it went back for the Vampire Coast a little bit, as my bird does take a bit of a slapping here. The bird is most certainly not the word, and it's going to be pulling out and maybe trying to get some good cycle charges in, but the fact that Kark is keeping his caster really close here is very solid. So I go in for a very greedy snipe. I was like, let's get in there, get that caster, get it crumbling. And I thought I was going to get away, but the crabs came in and got a lot of damage in, so Alarielle's in a bit of trouble, but she just barely gets away there. Very, very scary moment. I was like, oh god, I thought it was going to be like a cataclysmic mistake right there and just getting pinned in, and that would have been bad. So my archers are all shooting now. We've been able to kind of secure the flanks here. Ammunition's running a little bit low. We're certainly sparse here. The archers here have 3 volleys left. Sisters are pretty good. They have 8 volleys. Lothern Seaguard doing their thing over here. And on the far side, it looks like some halberds are continuing to chase down my Reavers, which I think a little bit of sloppy micro. They actually get caught here. And the Lothern Seaguard actually doing a solid job beating down the deckhand mobs. So, things are very close. I mean, his crabs are in okay shape. Salastra's in okay shape, but we do isolate the caster a little bit. So the caster gets a little bit out of position. The crab's overextended on the Lothern Seaguard. And now the bird's coming in. The Flamespire Phoenix is pissed. And he's going to be feasting on the soul of this vampire caster, hopefully. See, he's got his hook, he's got his cutlass, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to fight this bird. Taunt has gone down, and the caster is actually doing some okay damage with its death throws here. But it looks like the bird is about to get it. Although, man, we've just been missing these attacks right here. And here it comes. 34 HP, and down goes the Vampire Fleetcaster, so that's really nice. That means there's not going to be any more invocations of the heck, which is really important because Celostra is not really close to her healing cap. She actually has quite a bit more healing she could potentially do, but Celostra is so tanky. I mean, she has 1800 HP, but it's gonna be a long time before we get through that HP, that's for sure. Over here, you can see the Sisters of Avalorn continuing to shoot in, just using the last of their ammunition to try and work down Celostra. And that volley does some pretty good work, but it looks like a lot of the Sisters missed there. Not the most accurate of lasses, but they're certainly trying their hearts out. So over here, there's a pretty good pocket of halberds. So seeing this here, I was like, I don't want to get my birds over here. Let's just let the spears fight them. Let's get my birds and do a bit of an alpha strike on these healthy halberds, because I was kind of afraid that Kark would be able to get his guys on top of the halberds, and then that would just be like a nightmarish situation where I just wouldn't be able to kind of get those efficient attacks against his big units. So we're going in for a big strike here. The birds are certainly doing some pretty good damage, and we're just kind of tanking the leadership. They're at -15, -18, certainly not going to last too much longer. What's really cool about this is it's going to open up 55 of these Lothran Seaguard who still have pretty good ammunition, and every bow counts. I mean, every arrow against Celostra at this point is going to matter. So Arcane Conduit has been popped here. I don't know what he has as it pertains to spells. I think all of his Winds of Magic. Does he even have any spells in Celostra? I don't think so. She does come with Arcane Conduit, so just having it as like kind of a nice centerpiece to buff up your Vampire Caster is really good. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be any more magic despite the Arcane Conduit being popped. So Lothran Seaguard and White Lions and Dryads are kind of just trickling in. We're doing some sweet Reaganomics here, trying to just kind of poke these guys in, not send in too many troops at once. But also something else that a lot of people actually cut is Alarielle has an item or an ability called the Boon of Aisha that gives all nearby troops immune to psychology. So in the final battle here, I'm going to be able to give all my spearmen immune to psych, which is huge because these crabs cause terror and that could potentially just instantly lose me the game. So when we do get into that fight here, you guys are going to see that's actually going to be pretty important. But yeah, there's not really any Vampire Coast left. Over here, I don't think there's any. I think it's just the crabs. So yeah, it's the giant crabs right here, and I'm going to do a little bit of fast forwarding because there are some grindy situations here that take a little bit of time to develop. But basically, I'm just going to be using my archers here. Lothran Seaguard, I just kind of let them fight with their anti-large. And Celostra's getting pretty low. She has like 900 HP, so just kind of methodically moving in my troops here. These Lothran Seaguard get a little bit closer for accuracy purposes, and now they're going to be unleashing their bows into Celostra, and she's negative leadership, so that's good. I mean, every crumbling damage you can get on her is like super valuable with that tanky stat line she has. Up in the sky here, you can see it looks like a Song of Enthrallment is going to be going down, which is going to slow my birds, but I'm being very conservative here because even though I'm slightly ahead on the balance of power, like any slip up, if I lose the Phoenix, if I lose Alarielle, like anything like that, that could actually cost me the game, like pretty quickly. So we're just trying to get Celostra down. She's pretty low, 104 HP, and it looks like she's going to be going down. The Crab Queen going to be going down to the remnants of my Lothran Seaguard, and there she goes. There goes my hero. Down she goes. Well, not my hero, but my opponent's hero. And now we have the crab. So it's basically going to be a glorious grind here with the Lothran Seaguard facing off here. I charge him with the birds, and my Flamespire Phoenix is, he's in the danger zone. He's on that highway to the danger zone. He's riding that Kenny Loggins train, and we're getting a pretty good damage on the crab for sure. And for the first time in the battle, we actually truly pull ahead of the amounts of power. Spears and Lothran Seaguard coming in, but I get a little bit greedy on the bird, and I leave it there, and the bird actually gets beaten down. But I was kind of like going all in. I'm like, kill it, bring it down, bring it down. I thought that some sustained combat might be able to kind of get it more towards army losses or crumble the crab here, but it wasn't the case, and it was a little bit scary. So suddenly the White Lions and all these guys are just bum rushing in. Sisters of Avalorn are coming in. I mean, everybody has to get their axes out or their spears in the case of High Elves here. And we're going to be trying our best. The main thing I was really focusing on is staying close by with Alarielle and trying to kind of threaten cycle charges, at least kind of have the implication of one, right? So he has to respect it. Sometimes he's going to turn and take free attacks. Like right there, you can see I feinted charge. Basically, I'm trying to get him to kind of turn and face it, but he's not really falling for that. The crab is just kind of doing its thing. So we charge in there with the Bird Lady. Rotting Leviathan is at 0 leadership, 3,000 HP, -28 all of a sudden because of my bird attacks. But Alarielle's taking a little bit of work. All the spears and guys are going to be getting some decent attacks, and I have a ton of Winds of Magic. I only brought like Earthblood and Tempest, and I haven't been able to cast like any other spells, obviously, aside from Earthblood. So I've had a ton of extra Winds of Magic here. But anyways, my guys are going to continue piling in. The crab is still going. And is he going to be able to pull this out? I mean, there is a slight chance, but the fact that everyone here has the Boon of Aisha and is immune to psychology, I think is my saving grace. I really think without that, a lot of these troops would have terror routed, and it could have been a very dicey situation because the Pigeon Lady most certainly cannot fight this crab. I mean, this thing is very, very tanky and has a ton of HP, has shotguns on its back. It is certainly no joke. So I kept trying to surround the crab, like I was moving troops past it to kind of avoid blobbing up, but I found that it just kept jumping and like having these weird attack animations. Oh, wouldn't it be cool if these like guys on the side like actually like poked with their oh, those guys just got slapped. Brutal stuff. But anyways, Alarielle attacks in the back here, and I think that's going to be it as it does hit army losses, and the crab is going to be crumbling, and Alarielle, the Ever Queen, with the victory over the Foul Vampire Coast in the desert. Not really sure how they ended up here or why they're here, but it happened. It is what it is. So well played to Kark. That was a really fun close game. It was back and forth, and I was expecting like mortars and things like that, maybe some light crab play, but man, That map initially on the Red Desert, I believe is what it's called. When you start the map, the battle, you can't see over the hill, so you don't really know what your opponent's bringing. So like, I advanced up the hill with my Reavers to kind of have some forward scouts, and then I saw like a massive onslaught of crabs coming. I was like, oh god, how am I going to deal with that? Like, I have mostly Lothran Sea Garden archers, and there's just like armored crabs everywhere. But with kind of focus fire, volume of fire, and of course my bird's doing quite a bit of work there, we were able to pull that one out. But it was a very close game, and he had a solid build. It could have gone either way. I think the fact that we were able to really focus down the Lamprey's Revenge early on was a huge boon. Like, if those guys had endured and regenerated, I don't think I would have had the stopping power to finish them off in the late game. So well played to Kark. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Avalorn versus Vampire Coast game, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.